Alright guys, this is about 2 pounds of ground turkey I'm using for this. You want to make sure your pan is already hot, because if it's not, it's going to take a little longer to heat up. It's going to cut down your cooking time. Now while this is cooking, I want to just break it down a little bit. Still partially frozen, so it'll take some time to cook. This ground turkey is not, it's not beef, it's not pork, so it'll cook quick. Cooks quicker than chicken for the most part. My recipe calls for garlic. Because I don't have chopped garlic, you just take a few cloves, chop it yourself. It's really not that hard. I mean, for a lot of y'all that don't like cutting, because when I first started cooking, I didn't either. Best way is you can go to the store and there's pre-chopped garlic in the vegetable section. It should be near the garlic. It comes in like a little plastic jar. But with stuff like this, you can take little shortcuts and things like that so that you don't have to make it hard on yourself. The best way to chop this down is you take it and you just give it a little smash. When you smash it, all that skin that was on it comes off. If you want, you can cut off this little brown end right here. You don't necessarily have to. I usually do though, just so that I can get it out the way. And then you just want to give it a nice little chop. Run your knife through it a few times. The best way to chop this, another good way to chop this is, if you want it real fine, almost like a paste, you take a little salt and you sprinkle it over the garlic. And when you take salt and sprinkle it over the garlic, it extracts all the water out of it, and it makes it easier to crush.
Causing havoc. Couple doggies in the kitchen cooking magic, yeah. On that carpet, flowing fast, I'm like a ladder. My head tragic, don't want static, let you have it, yeah. Football jacket in the party, causing havoc. Couple doggies in the kitchen cooking magic, yeah. On the carpet, flowing fast, I'm like a ladder. My head tragic, don't want static, let you have it, yeah.
Now you always gotta remember to check up on this, because since it is ground turkey, if you have it in too high of a pan, it will burn. But check up on it. It's not completely done yet. There's still a few, clumps of pink, so it's not completely done yet. What we can do though is we could go back to our garlic, now that you've checked the meat, to finish chopping and to get everything else prepared for the dish. Now you see how my garlic is peeled, and like I said, once again, you can take this off. I mean, I usually do, so just want to make sure you go through and take all of those off. You don't necessarily have to. I just like to, because if you don't cut it fine enough, you can then see it, and no one wants to see brown anything in their garlic. So if you cut a piece that big, just cut around it. Don't just throw it. It saves time, saves product. Alright, got all your garlic nice and cut up. Now the first thing I would suggest is just give them all rough chop. Make sure you always wipe your knife down. Don't cut yourself in the process. I've done it a lot of times. And once you have it to an average size, you start to cut down more. You gotta just repeat the process till you get it to where you want it. Now, the size of what you cut, I prefer smaller, because this is something that is going into our meat mixture, so you don't want huge clumps of it in there. But if you're a huge garlic fan, you can always leave them as big as you want. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest leave the clove whole, because then it's literally a clove of garlic in your food, unless you plan on taking it out. If you plan on taking it out, you can leave them whole, spice your oil with it, whatever, and then you could just take it out. So here guys, the meat is done cooking. Now what you want to do is you want to take your garlic and add it into the pot. This way you can start breaking down some of the flavor in this. Now this process doesn't take long at all because you don't want it to burn. If you're not used to cooking on high heat like I am, make sure you turn your heat down because your garlic burns very easily. See, I'm already starting to smell some of the garlic. Now from this point on, you want to turn your heat down if you haven't already and start throwing in your seasonings. Now, because this is a family recipe, you guys won't get all the seasonings from me, but I'll give you the solid base few that, you know, you can play around with, add, subtract, add in a few other things, you know, to make sure that your recipe is good. So, I have garlic powder. Now, y'all have tasted my food. A lot of people have said I'm heavy on my seasonings. I'm telling you, you have to go heavy on the seasoning. If you don't go heavy on the seasoning, it doesn't have the flavor that you want. That was garlic powder. Here we have onion powder. Go heavy on the seasoning. Only thing I would suggest that you not go heavy on would be salt, because I also have that problem as well. People say that my food tends to be a little salty. Crushed red pepper. For a little spice, you can add as much as you want. If you want a little spicy, you would add more than this. And the last ingredient I'm going to show you guys is some pepper. Pepper also adds to spice, so just make sure you watch out for how much you're adding in your food. Okay guys, here is the final mixing of the meat. You see it has like a very moldable texture. Like, you could take this, if I took this with my bare hands, I could form a ball with this. And that's what you kind of want, so that it sits perfectly in the empanada, in the dough that you're using. Now me personally, I don't have space and stuff like that to just be in here making my own dough, so I use these. I know y'all have seen these in the store. They're Goya discs. They come in 10 in a pack. These are the smaller ones. There are bigger ones. These are about give or take anywhere between $3 and $6 depending on the store you go to, and the bigger ones are between $4 and $8. So you'll just have to look for the right ones. But if you don't have a way to make dough, use these. I'm telling you, they're better. They're seasoned. They have the plain ones too if you want to use the plain ones instead of using seasoned ones. But the seasoned ones give it its flavor too. Alright guys, now we're at our next stage. Filling the empanadas. Make sure you get some cooking spray or something and spray your plate, because once they start to thaw out, they're going to stick to your plate and it's going to be a pain in the ass to try to get them. So you just want to take a decent amount, fill it. That may be a little bit too much, so if you realize you have too much, just put in another one. And when you're gonna go ahead and close them, I'll just show you that real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and close them and take them, and you'll fold it like a taco. Push all the meat to the center and fold it this way so that you have a half circle. Press it down. Once it's pressed down on all sides, you take your fork. I definitely advise you use a metal fork. If you use a plastic one, if you're me, you're gonna break it. Once you do that, you just press down on the sides. Turn. Make sure you're pressing enough, because once these go in the fryer, they may open up on you. That's one.
Yo, Knicks talk real dirty blue. Just know I'm riding. If you ride, bring that 30 through. The way I'm living, she envisioned I was 32. Handle business, got prescriptions, pharmaceuticals. Ay, you can sniff it, girl, know how you do. Hey, just call your man up, he been bitches, say he coming through. Hey, he come knocking, I'ma sock him like a laundry shoe. Hey, pistols cocky, don't act cocky, they will kill you, dude. Hey, hold up. Sam said he need to get a roll up, but it's taking too long with the hold up. Now I'm in the parking lot doing donuts. Wait, slow up. I've been drinking all day, finna throw up. If a nigga in the way, he could tore up. Now I'm serving in the rain, I been drew up.
Like I've been doing what I've been doing, getting to it, what you doing, ayy. Sitting idle, can't do it. Opened all 6 gates, now I'm fluent with a step, ayy. Gotta watch how I step, ayy. Look the wrong way, get swept, ayy. If she wanna play, get left. No, I ain't gon' play by the check. No, I don't parlay with a feather, nigga. I'm a weathered nigga. Like I shine like Osiris, stay away from the fakes. That shit like a virus, it sleep on for days. I ain't getting tired, she running away. Think the pussy expired, she run around the wave. Then this is required, I already acquired. The other reforms was already. Hey, yeah, shit, fuck, hey. And all the chit chat gets you 2 shots, now you 2 pop. Like I'm too clean, sliding around with like 2 glocks. Red dot, eeny, meeny, miny, make a nigga body drop. No, I don't know who shot, never lack. I'ma make your bitch back up, don't act up, cause it's 40 in the Mac tuck. Hit her like a Mac truck, don't use magnums, still keep a magnum. I'ma leave him like a rag doll, and this bitch think my dick too tall. I only hit the mall if I'm robbing it, and it's 5 stars mobbing in this bitch like I'm riding with the same click, and all my niggas letting shots out the future.
Alright, all of our empanadas are made. Now it is time to fry them. Best way to fry them that I like to do is, since they have this little ring right here, lay the ring on the outside of the pan. This way you could fit some in the middle. You fry more that way and it takes less time to do it, because when it gets hot, good empanada, honestly, depending on how your flame is, you have to watch them. But mine take about maybe 2 to 3 minutes on each side. I cook on high heat though. I cook on high heat. So also, another thing to remember, the inside is cooked already. So you're literally only frying the outer shell. Inside is cooked. During the frying process, it gets reheated back up because the meat sits for a while as you're filling them. And it shouldn't take more than 2-3 minutes. If you're cooking on a little medium, lower heat, it might take 3 to 4, 3 to 5. But it should be quick. It shouldn't take long at all. See, this one right here is already getting a little color. It's not fully fried yet, but it's getting a little color. Also, don't be alarmed if they open up while frying. A lot of the times where it opens up at, it's gonna crisp up and it kind of closes itself. So don't be too worried about it. Get this one to flip so you guys can see. See, that's solid. That's solid. You just want to fry it though to make sure all areas are fried. Because sometimes the corners aren't. Sometimes the very back behind the filling isn't. So you just want to fry them, make sure they're all completely fried. And if you're not using a deep fryer or using a pot with deep oil, make sure you flip them. If you have a problem with flipping food in general, you could do this. You could splash the top. You just have to make sure that you splash it enough so that it's fried. I prefer to flip just because it's easier. Just take it, flip it, and that's it. These are about ready to come out. There's your empanada. Just make sure you have a pan with paper towel or something absorbent to collect the oil that's dripping off of them. Also, as far as utensils to do this, you could use, of course, use metal. Don't ever use plastic with oil. Use a metal spatula, or what I used to use is a pair of tongs with the metal ends. Don't use a pair of tongs. Don't use a pair of barbecue tongs with the rubber ends, because you're gonna burn your tongs. To make 100 of these from the people that wanted them, and now you see the process. So imagine this process times 5. Imagine making 20 of these like I did and having to make 100 at 11 o'clock at night just because the people want your food. You gotta have a passion for stuff like this because it takes time. It's not something you could do overnight. Alright guys, here's your product, here's your final product. This isn't something that takes long to make unless you're making it by big volume. This is only 20. You know, you crack them open, you can see the steam, you can see everything for what it is, the time and preparation you put into it. A few side notes I would like to add as far as the cooking process goes. You're free to add onions to that, you're free to use chicken, whatever. There's room for creativity with things like this. So never feel like you watch something like this and you have your recipe and someone gives you a recipe and you have to stick to it. This is just my way of showing you guys what I've done with my history and how I've made empanadas and the recipe that I use and how they've come out today and how so many people like them and would purchase these. You know, so, you know, it's just always remember that just because you have a recipe doesn't mean you have to do it step by step. One thing I would like to ask, once everybody has watched this and understands this, what is one thing that you didn't see me do not one time? And don't say washing your hands, because I do that offset. What is one thing you see me do with all my ingredients that I didn't do one time that most chefs do? You can answer that question and you're local. You'll have a chance at making these with me. You'll also have a chance at being a guest for the day, being my right-hand man, helping me make a dish of either your choosing or the fans' choosing. This is Sean Mix, and have a good day, everybody.
Drinking some rock on the rocks. Ice like the bling on my watch. You wanna do what I do? Boy, you can learn if you watch. Drinking some rock on the rock.